video clip for tonight. As I've mentioned every night, WHY is an acronym for Wealth, Health, and You, or Why Community. Why focuses on three crucial concerns: wealth, abundance mindset, health and well being, and its sustainability, and good or meaningful family relations. This holistic view of happiness is what we all strive for. So, this brings us to our speaker for tonight, who is currently based in Bangkok, Thailand, but he will be virtually. He will be with us. Coach Alfred II, bye-bye, is the Director of Education of We Learn Academy in Bangkok. He is a professional business and education coach and is a member of the International Coaching Federation, or ICF. He is also a member of Ignite Global, and he is he completed his MBA from the University of Hertfordshire. I have to say that slowly, of United Kingdom, and his consultant accreditation is from Alchemy Dealmaking and Consulting Network, also based in London. He is also a faculty of UBIS University, based in Geneva, Switzerland. I think they do online classes there. So it is with pleasure to have with us tonight to discuss on how to optimize work from home and children's online schooling. Coach Al, let us give him the time.
Okay. I'll be talking about optimizing working from home and children's virtual learning. Okay, so this is my two-liner that says, work-life balance in the new normal will be redefined by our core values. I know that there are many of us parents, and maybe it's just everyone else around the world are getting overwhelmed with the current situation with COVID right now. It's very, very uncertain. We don't know when COVID will be gone. We don't know when our kids can be back to school. We don't know when life will be back to normal. Okay, it's really very challenging at this moment. So we are all hanging in the balance at the moment. So trying to understand the situation and trying to find ways on how we can deal with this current situation is an utmost and very dire situation. Okay, so I would just like to give you a picture of what I will be covering tonight. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about the future of education, the trends, failures of traditional education, and the educational revolution that we are currently facing at the moment. I want to talk about the pain points as well of people who are working from home at the same time having their kids to learn online. Okay, and of course the impacts of COVID. Then I will be talking about my experience, how I tried to balance working from home and virtual learning, and then the work balance. Okay, let's move on. Now, you can see right here, the future is here, working from home and virtual learning. Okay, so this, if you will look at the picture, I really like this picture because, you know, there's like two worlds. There are two worlds we are living right now. half of our body is professional. Don't let me stand, but I'm not wearing boxers at this time. But uh, I like the boxer shorts. It's pink, so it really emphasizes that half of our spirit and half of our mind is at home, and half of our heart is actually working. This is undeniably this current situation right now, which is what we call the new normal. Okay. Now, just before the pandemic hits, we can already tell based from this research that working from home has been a trend already. Okay, it has been a trend since 2011, and even way back, there has been a sudden rise of demand for people to work from home. Why could that be the situation? It's because there are a lot of benefits that parents actually see, that working from home has a lot of things that you can get from it. Especially if you're a parent, you get more time working with being with your kids, with your family at the same time. In Bangkok, like some of you who might be in Metro Manila area, I know the traffic is unimaginable. So transportation from one point to the other, just try to imagine. I, for one, I travel to work an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, just going and back and forth. That's going to be factored in between 3 hours to 4 hours a day. That's a lot of time that I'm wasting. So in this report, you will find that in the statistics in 2019, there has been an increase of remote jobs posting for past 2 years, 78%. And 90% of employees says they want flexibility arrangements. So this is also one thing I found out. And even in my organization, when we are hiring people or new staff or new coaches, I have always experienced that this generation Y, or the millennials, would always be looking for alternatives of working from home or flexibility in working. So working remotely has been really a trend even before the pandemic. Okay, so there are furthermore studies that we can find. 2 out of 3 people believe that traditional office setup will be obsolete by 2030. Okay, so this is very clear. And if we look at the trends after the post-COVID 2019, more employees will be working remotely, increase of employee data, greater roles of employers as a social safety net, and all of that things. So there has been a great disruption in not only in the education system, but even in the industry. So this study also shows the same thing. Okay, 14 million workers in UK wanted to work in a flexible way. 92% of the Generation Y identify flexibility as a priority when selecting a workplace. See, it's it's very real now. It's something that we cannot deny. 4 million people have left office behind to work primarily from home, and 1.8 million more employees would like to work from home. And if you will look at the studies, it's kind of interesting also that we found out that 63% of home workers are male. So that's pretty interesting to know. And here you can see in this slide that there are these 30 big companies, global companies, are switching to long-term remote work, which includes Amazon, American Express. You see all of these big companies, Microsoft, who else that are very familiar to us, Starbucks, Spotify, all of these companies. So we can see that this is where we are going, and we need to be prepared for it. Even employers themselves need to be able to know how to handle remote work or working from home. So it's not just the responsibility of human resource department of every companies, but even employees themselves or homeowners themselves need to figure out how to navigate in this new landscape. Okay, I would just like to share this video from UNICEF. Together we fight to everyone. Yay! Let's go share. Yay! Let's go share. Yay! Let's go share. We can just imagine the impact of COVID into schools who have no access to technology and online learning. They have been suffering from just getting the kids to move on in learning. Just try to imagine having a year or two that every kids would be behind. That is a significant impact to the education system globally. 168 million children so far, according to the study of UNICEF, are struggling. Okay, let's look into the challenges of COVID-19 virtual learning. As you can see, just look at this parent with two kids. You can just imagine her frustrations with a given situation. As of April 9, 2020, 1.57 billion children were being educated by families that had little or no experience of protracted homeschooling. Even in our school that we are running, we have received reports that there are a lot of parents who felt overwhelmed because not only in our system, but in every different schools, that what happened recently is, since the teachers are not there to closely supervise the classes, and most schools, especially during the first wave of COVID, you know, even school systems were not prepared for online learning. How much more the parents would. So the experience were schools were just sending out worksheets after worksheets after worksheets, especially to the little ones. And parents themselves have to work with their kids. And so how will you be able to do your work? Okay, that's a big challenge. How will you be able to do your work if you have to attend with your kids, especially if your kids are not yet independent? So there is a great challenge over there. And there's been piling pressures on many parents for homeschooling. By the way, I would like to give credits to my daughter. She was the one who set up this effects of having a movie and a monitor inside my presentation screen. So great job, Ali. This is from Michigan, University of Michigan. Even in America, the problems and the burden to parents have been very overwhelming. Not considering the fact that there are even parents who have been laid off from work. Right? We can imagine that how the COVID-19 has actually shifted how things work and evolve in our daily lives. Okay, there's an article I stumbled with. This is from Philippa Morgan. So she's a columnist from Vogue magazine. And according to the article, she has really been through a rough stage where she admitted that she was crying while mopping the floor at 9 p.m. because of how she has to balance, taking care of the kids, having them to learn at the same time, managing a very demanding business. According to her, I quote, "That's a reality that prevails day in and day out. But some way, somehow, you step up and generate a warrior-like resolve, an invincible tenacity to find more energy and make time elastic." So as much as possible, we wanted more time. We wanted to stretch ourselves
Thank you so much.
in order just to
Thank
sustain.
you for the information. Salamat sa
Okay, so how do you think we're able to balance work and family? Not just that, this has actually been a very long discussion and issue since 1950s and 1960s. Work and life balance. During the Industrial Revolution, employees and those parents have also been struggling on how to divide, even until now, how you're able to divide the time and balance the time between work at the same time home. And this does not equate to the new fact that we have to consider that we need to include virtual learning. And now that we are all working at home, right, we cannot deny the fact that our work and our personal lives are being integrated. And we cannot deny that there's no way we can separate the two. This is the challenge now because many parents have been struggling and trying in order to divide the dichotomy between these two things, family and home. And this has been a real challenge and a real struggle at this unprecedented time. Okay, so there's another video clip I would like to share with you.
Well, is it safe to go back to school? Yeah, I think we need to change school to ensure that, there are good provisions in place to ensure social distancing, to ensure that the infection risk is minimized. There are many good examples of schools, even before the summer break, who have been able to reconcile effective learning and ensuring the safety and health of students, teachers, and communities. That means sometimes closing public spaces in school, staggering meal times, limiting the kind of configurations in learning environments. When you think of traditional classrooms, you have a teacher in front of students, talking about a subject and assuming everybody learns at the same place. The same pace. When it comes to knowledge transmission, technology has become very good. If you have a teacher just delivering a lecture on Zoom, that's not very effective. That's basically old teaching using new technology. I think you need to change your pedagogy. You need to capitalize on the opportunities of technology, not making learning more interesting, more engaging, more granular, more personal, and then bring in the personal aspect, the support, the coaching, the mentoring, on a one-by-one basis. And I think if you use that combination, you're going to be a very effective teacher. You use technology at its best, and you use teaching at its best.
So from that video, we can just see how our educational system has to be transformed. You cannot expect that the same approach you're using in a traditional classroom is going to be effective when you put it into Zoom or when you do your online learning class and the approach is just the same. You cannot expect to come up with the same results. We have seen studies that there has been a significant amount of students that have been suffering. They have been behind from lessons after lessons because of the personal engagement is different. That's the reason why this educator is trying to emphasize that you need to tweak and you need to change your approach in learning. It has to be personalized. There has to be a personalized mentoring and coaching for every individual student. And you need to make the online learning engaging where students will be more interested to take part of. So this is the problem we are facing now because there are a lot of approaches, and even now in our current traditional educational system, we are experiencing a lot of flaws. Let me just move on to my next slide.
Well, is it safe to go back?
Now, this is the impact of COVID-19 to the future of the educational sector. Okay, so if you will see here, there are a lot of available avenues on how students are able to learn at this time of age. You have their open source learning solution, you have blended methods, you have the personalized learning powered by AI, redefined roles of educators, convenient methodologies, rising demand of skill-based and short education courses. Actually, I will be showing a video later that will explain more about what Elon Musk is trying to say now, that university may not be relevant anymore. So I would just like to highlight some of the problems that our educational system, our traditional educational system, where it has been failing. If you will observe closely, dear parents, I believe that most of you have kids and most of you have been through the same educational system where we all have been. But at this time of age, things have started to evolve and things have started to change. Experts were actually trying to say that traditional education only worked during the Industrial Revolution. I'll cover that partly here. Okay, let's go to point number one. Try to notice that lessons are only focused on passing tests, not literally learning skills. Skills that are required or needed at the workplace. If you will look at those successful business people out there, whether it be online or offline, most of them are dropped out from the university. You can go to what's this, Mark Zuckerberg. You can go to even Microsoft. What's this guy from Microsoft? Slipped my mind. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, we have Bill Gates. Even we have the Apple guy. My brain.
Steve Jobs.
Steve
Jobs.
Steve
Yeah.
Jobs.
And there are many more that have been dropped out from university. Why? Because they have not seen the relevance of learning with the needed skills they have in order for them to be successful. Okay, now point number two, education. The traditional education has been heavily focused on theory, not practical skills. And we can see that. Number three, traditional education dampens critical future skills. What are the critical future skills? The 4 C's. We have critical thinking, collaboration, which is very much needed at the workplace. Wherever you go, you have to be a team player, right? You need to be creative. And you need to know how to communicate verbally or in writing. So these are just the basics. How about entrepreneurship? How about being self-directed or being able to learn things on your own? These things are not being harnessed in the traditional education system. Point number 4, each learner are expected to learn on the same way. Just try to imagine each of your child at home. Look at them now. Does anybody of you have twins? Anybody have twins? Let's look at these twins, okay? Do they have the same interest? Do they have the same way of learning? Do they have the same passion? They are not. They're completely different. The most ironic part is this. In our school system, we expect our 30 or 40 students in the classroom with different personalities, with different intelligences to learn the same way. How can that be, right? Even though they are twins, looking at your two kids, they're not the same, but it is just horrendous for people to expect that students in the classroom would learn in the same way. Point number 5, each child is judged based on standardized test scores. If your test scores is low or failing, what would your teacher tell you? You have no future, right? You will never amount to anything. You will not be successful. And that is a very big mistake. Point number 6, limitations of grades to measure learning. We know that grades cannot measure what students have learned, especially the skills. They only measure the correct answers from the tests, okay? And just try to imagine that test scores are considered to be the most, what do you call that? It is the biggest deal that every student need in order for them to graduate, right? In order for you to move to the next level. It's the only measuring rod. And one more thing is, point number 7 is students have no voice. Can you try to imagine? Even the way students have to learn, even the way what they want to learn, it has to be pushed on their throats by our traditional educational system. And we cannot deny the fact that technology has made traditional classroom completely obsolete. That's the reason why, if I will refer back to the video from UNICEF, schools who have not had the technology or the pedagogy to be delivered online is completely behind. That's something we cannot deny.
Why Elon Musk created his own school to educate his kids. A team of scientists wanted to find out where creativity comes from. Are some people born with it, or is it learned? Or does it come from our experiences? The scientists developed a highly specialized test and had 1,600 children between the ages of 4 and 5 take the test. This was a test that looks at the ability to come up with new, different, and innovative solutions to problems. A whole 98% of the kids scored genius category of imagination. The scientists were so astonished that they decided to test the children again 5 years later when they were 10 years old. The result? Only 30% of these children now fell in the genius category. When the kids were tested again at 15 years, the figure had dropped to a depressing 12%. If you are wondering what percentage of adults still have their creative imagination after years of schooling, it will interest and equally depress you to know that only 2%, yes, 2% of the population of grown-ups retain their creative abilities. Millions of tests and examination, the researchers came to the conclusion that the school system, our education, robs us of our natural creative ability. As kids, we were natural innovators and had powerful imagination. Then, gradually, teachers and schools, sometimes even parents, began to strip us of our uniqueness. Then we grew into adults that have forgotten what it's like to be creative. This knowledge about how the school system impacts a child's cognitive development is what Elon Musk wanted to prevent for his kids. He didn't want to risk having them lose their creative genius. So, in 2014, Elon Musk, the billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, pulled his 5 children out of a prestigious school for gifted children and started his own school called Ad Astra, later renamed Astronova. There is a growing criticism against the relevance of the school system over a child's wholesome development. This growing crusade is justified when you consider that our education system is no longer delivering its promise of a brighter future, fulfillment, and financial security. After going through boring classes, lectures, and exams, you are confronted by a harsh reality that is often contrary to your orientation. According to science, there are 2 kinds of thinking that take place in the brain. One is called divergent, that is, imagination, used for generating new possibilities. The other is called convergent, that is, when you're making a judgment, making a decision, criticizing, or evaluating. Divergent thinking works like an accelerator, and convergent thinking puts a brake on our best efforts. Sadly, the society and education system focuses on developing our convergent thinking and suppressing our divergent. In trying to avoid this outcome for his children, Musk decided to take them out of the conventional school system and start what he believes to be what school should be like. Here are some things about the school. Less paperwork, more thinking. For application of the 2021 session, instead of asking students to fill a long application form, the application required parents to upload a video of their child's response to one of 7 conundrums. These are short videos of questions derived from a possible real-life scenario. Here is an example.
Okay, so much for that. Now, I would like to share with you, this is my school and my company in Bangkok. So actually, you can see Astronova's logo over here, because at the moment we are collaborating with Elon Musk's school as well when it comes to resources and materials that they are using, and we are also adapting that in our system. You can see here, okay, this is a screenshot of our website, that in our website itself, you can already find 5,000 courses from world's top providers. We have courses there from Stanford University, from Johns Hopkins, okay? So what am I trying to point out here? Education is not limited anymore in the 4 corners of the classroom. Education can be achieved through online learning. And if you limit yourselves in the 4 corners of the classroom, the educational approach becomes completely obsolete. If you will notice here, there are 7 future skills, the black square over here. This is where we focus our approach. And we don't learn like the traditional way. Like we take academics only 50% of our time in school. Students learn their academics for it. Our academics is actually self-directed. It's personalized. Like students can do their academics at their own time whenever they wanted to, because it's all in the digital platform. And then we provide them avenues for project-based learning. So we spend 2 days, whole 2 days in a week, just talking about a real world problem. And how are you going to solve it? How are you going to approach it using the design thinking approach? Okay, you see here there's a graphic that shows like a snake. We call this personalized learning platform. This is where every child that comes into our school have their own unique learning plan. You have to say where you want to be. For example, are you interested to go to university in UK system, American system, Asia, local, or what? And then we design the learning plan for you. Over here, you will also see a logo of Mastery Transcript Consortium. Around the world, there are only 300 schools progressive schools, okay? We call this schools that are future focused, that are members of this organization, and we are one of them. In Thailand, we are the second school who is a member of Mastery Transcript Consortium. What is Mastery Transcript Consortium? Actually, they are a school that do not use paper-based transcript. They don't use traditional grades, no more grades. It's all about portfolio evidences. And this is digital transcript, where if you're a school member, your transcript will be in the website where you will be uploading videos and evidences of the skills you have mastered. We have also been working with Back Institute, PBL Works. All our project-based learning curriculum is from that, this is also based in America. So what I'm trying to point out here is you cannot limit education based on what you only have in the textbook. Textbooks that have been written how long ago? 10, 15, 20 years? They are gone in history already before the students learn the skills they needed for the future. So these are some of the resources that we are also integrating. Okay, some of these are accessible to you as well, parents. You know, we have a program from Wolsey Hall, Oxford. We do, Khan Academy is free. Every parent is able to access Khan Academy. We also have a partnership with Acella's Academy. This is based in the US. IXL, there are some free as well, but mostly it's paid. We also take courses in Coursera, like even though we have primary or secondary kits, we are also able to make use of courses here. And, Tinkercad, there are a lot of more plethora of applications out there that you can actually use in order to make learning in the classroom more engaging, more personalized, and more engaging, more interesting for the kids. Now, how to balance life, work life, and virtual learning in the new normal? This is now the challenge that we have to face. Are we able to handle this as parents? Being an educator is one thing, but being a parent is another thing. Okay, so what does work-life balance mean? Does it mean equal? Let me go through here. Work-life balance does not mean equal amount of time each day between professional and personal life. The equilibrium of balance is achieved over time, not each day. So there might be days that you can focus on work, more time with work, but more time on other days that you can focus your energy with your kids, with their learning, and with the family. But what is important is to develop and remain fluid. This is the key here. You need to be able to be flexible and constantly assess where you are versus the goals and your priorities. Why is work-life balance important? It might be important. Why do you need it to be balanced? What will happen if you are just focused on your kids, or you're just focused on family, or you're just focused on work? Yeah, we can see it from there. It's just like a ticking time bomb that is ready to go off. Burnout, okay? You need to be ready for that. You can have burnout, physical and mental health problems, unhealthy family relationships. Here in Thailand, we have a lot of families that are broken homes. Why? Even in the Philippines, I'm pretty sure. It's because parents have spent so much of their time at work, and they didn't have enough time to actually take care of real problems going on at home, because pressure at work is just overwhelming. So work-life balance is an important aspect in maintaining the rhythm between your professional and personal life in order to ensure your well-being. Okay, so how do we strike the right balance? So you will see here the color wheel, right? You will see here that we have different priorities. We have different values. So at this very confusing time, completely confusing time of our age, most parents are struggling to survive, right? And then some parents are being laid off. Students are at home and they're demanding time for them to be helped. You don't have exercise anymore. You don't have healthy living anymore. No recreation, no more personal development. You're just trying to survive. Now, what will be your compass in order to navigate this uncertainty? So that's the reason why it is important for us to see and identify what are our core goals, our personal values, what will lead us, what will be our true north. Is it going to be faith, our spiritual life? Is it going to be family? Is it going to be career? Because when life gets tough and gets confusing, definitely we need to have a compass. And our compass will be our core values. Now, let me share to you my personal experience and how I have approached. How much time do I have? It's 8 o'clock already. Um, how much time do I have to stop now?
Just continue, please.
Okay, thank you. Now, so the first one, set a routine to start right. So this is pretty important. Okay, just going back to your compass, I was talking about a while ago. Oops, okay, okay, this one. This becomes our compass, right? So you need to know your priorities, what is important, and you need to stretch them out and find more balance. So the first one, this is for me, maybe not for you, but I just want to share. So I start my day with either a prayer, a meditation, because that is the time I will find dependence on a higher power. Because I, for one, believe that our life here on earth could just be overwhelming and there's nothing we can do about it. Just look at COVID-19. Is there anyone who can do something about it? So this is the time where, for me, it take me down to my knees and just call for a dependence for a divine intervention. Second item, number two. So these tips are for parents, okay? I would just like to emphasize these are for parents who have kids that you're trying to help your kids now to optimize while you're working at the same time your kids are learning online. Okay? So how to balance work life and virtual learning. Number 2 points, scheduling. Okay? You need to make sure your kids have their own schedule. You see here, I have a grade 1 schedule, 1G. This is my son's schedule. I always get messages or a call from my wife that my son is not in the class. There could be other reasons like technical issues or something, like he will forget that, we have a break, and then he had a break for more than 30 minutes already and he skipped class. So also, it's important for you to allow your kids to make their own schedule. Like here, you will see here a drawing. This is done by my daughter, Tuesday. So on Tuesdays, she will do her arts and crafts. Okay, this is after school. She will do her violin or piano, practicetyping.com, and lunch. You see noodles. Because I have actually helped my kids and trained them to be independent, that they have to prepare their lunch by themselves. So, and even at work, these are some of the tools I'm using. Microsoft Planner. This is Our students are also using Microsoft Planner as they collaborate with their classmates working on projects. They use Microsoft Planner. You can also use Google Calendar. So these are just additional tips for our parents. Okay, point number 3, expect that things could be overwhelming. Okay, this is what I have experienced, that when there's stress at work, it could actually affect how you deal with your kids. I felt bad last week because I'm having pressure at work, and then I have to deal with discipline with my kids. Then it could be really tough. So here you can take a break and check on your child whenever if they are doing okay. It says here, prioritize and give your child a big hug. And that's the best. Do the best you can. But most importantly, practice patience, kindness, gentleness, and compassion to your kids. That's very important. Let's not put our standards too high because we are now in a very, very difficult situation. Point number 4, manage screen time, kids' screen time. Why? Even in our school, we have a lot of students who are doing online. Parents thought they were doing online, but they were playing games. But we need to be aware that some of these games are really good. Like, for example, Minecraft, Roblox. It helps you to be creative, but there are a lot of subliminal messages there that engages our kids to violence. So as parents, we need to be careful about that. You need to practice discretion and moderation in these areas. Point number 5, encourage hands-on activities on their free time. After school, my rule is after school, students, there will be no more screen time, and they have to do hands-on prototyping to make their own toys or solve their own problems. You see here, you see the violin. This is not a real violin. This has been designed by my kids with my wife. You see my son here, he's inside a robot box. We found a box from home that we recycled, and before we throw it, we just try to reuse it and use something with it. And even my kids, they have, after school, they will just pull out cardboard boxes and start making their own toys. You see here this circle with a face of different colors. This is my daughter's Simple Dimple. Now kids are very much into this. And actually, when the schools were open, my kids have made a lot of this, and she was selling it to her classmates, and some of them were buying it. So it's very good for kids to be resourceful. It's also important for us to provide them books that they can just access whenever they're done with school. Point number 6, assign responsibilities and teach your kids to be independent. This is very important. If your kids are independent, they can help you just focus on your work. Like for me, when I'm having classes online, they cannot interrupt me. So my kids finish their morning class at 11, and that is the time I'm still in class. So I cannot prepare lunch for them. They have to prepare lunch on their own. So I need to get my kids be responsible for themselves, and after school, they have to practice their violin, their piano, and do other work they needed with very, very less supervision. But at the same time, I still have to be there to check on them. Okay, point number 7, give your child attention when possible. Okay, so during working hours, non-working hours, spending your time with the kids is very important. Try to celebrate, at the end of the day, try to celebrate with your kids and connect with them. This is very important in order that our family will still stay connected. Point number 8, take care of your health. In our very little condo here in Bangkok, my wife she loves planting. I told her, it has been actually a debate. She wants to plant green stuff and salads and all that. And so we eat salad at the same time we're eating it. So it's very healthy. It's important to have that. But of course, we need to have exercise. We need to have sunlight, especially this time that there is COVID. This is the only way we can fight the virus if we are going to boost our immune system. So we need to have the right amount of food, stay hydrated, and of course, get enough sleep. Okay, point number 9, spend time with God and your family on weekends. So being a Christian, this is one of the core value that I have with my family. My work has been really very overwhelming throughout the week. There are times that I have to work 12 hours to 15 hours in a day. And so weekend is the only time that I could really rest, spend time with my God, unwind, and be renewed spiritually. And at the same time, this is the time I go out with my family. And that builds the bond with my family, which is really, really crucial. So in the end, I would like to leave you a quote. It's from Psalm 62. It's from my favorite book, world best-selling book, the Bible, it says, we humans are only a breath. None of us are truly great. All of us together weigh less than a puff of air. There's nothing we can do beyond the current situations. It is all in the hands of God. So if we lack wisdom on how to balance our time between family, work, virtual learning, we need to be back on our knees. Okay.
That we are looking into the chat box. We have no questions yet as of the moment. Can you write it down there, please,
Can I
in the
raise
chat
question?
box? Somebody's raising a hand.
Yes.
Okay. There are lots of hands raised here. So can you please unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Can you please proceed?
Okay, Raymond, I'm Raymond Pinion.
All right.
Sir,
Yes,
good
sir.
evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your discussion. Just like to ask a question. What is really more important? Is it just gaining knowledge from these new techniques, or is it really anchoring on the truth? Because if you look at in fact, if you look at the nation of Israel, the nation of Israel produced the most number of uh, inventors, successful people in business and education and medicine and all these things. And yet, these people are trained on the Torah from their very youth up to their old age. So I was thinking, how do you explain that? Will anchoring the education of our children on this modern knowledge versus anchoring them on the truth of the Word of God do better for our generation? I was just thinking, is it really for me to say it's anchoring the youth on the truth because the truth will make them wise if they apply it properly. So I don't know how you would comment on that. To say we are more focused on, we're thinking about modern techniques of education and everything, but we seem to be missing the point that it's really anchoring people in the truth of God's word. That's more important. Can you comment on that, please?
Okay, thank you. So it actually depends on the philosophy of education that we are using. If we are going to talk about Christian education, definitely that is going to be the focus. Where the Word of God, there is wisdom and knowledge. That is where you will find its essence. Just not looking into a certain situation, but in the big picture, we are able to see more on how on the essence of learning and the truth. So tools are just tools, and the process of education. So it depends on the philosophy of education that any organizational institution is trying to deliver. And tools are there in order for you to find ways on how to navigate to get to the truth, to get to the knowledge, principles that every student or every individual needs to be groomed, to be honed in order for them to be a strong citizen, whether they will be striking between the truth, making a decision about life or business. So yeah, to answer your question, I think it depends on the philosophy of education an institution is trying to provide.
Thank you for that. Here's another question. What do you believe is the future of education after COVID?
Okay, we understand that traditional educational approach has been completely disrupted because of COVID-19. That's why I mentioned in my presentation a while ago, the future is here. We cannot deny the fact that online learning will still be there even after COVID. But the problem for many educational institutions is how are you going to go into online learning and have it sustainable? Because as we see right now, there are millions of schools out there that are not ready for it. There are millions or billions of students that are suffering because their approach into education is still not ready. So, what do we expect after COVID-19? There will be a significant shift in educational landscape. Online learning is going to be the most efficient and the most effective way of learning. And if parents, students, and schools are not ready for it, educational system or our children will be left behind. They will definitely suffer. Just try to imagine if COVID will not come. I mean, if things will not be back into normal by next year in the next few months, it's going to be the third year that schools are closed. And how are schools able to operate and move forward if they're not ready for that technology integration?
I think there is a follow-up question to that. That's a very good answer. It's futuristic, yes. So what will the parents do in case?
Okay, yeah, the role of the parents are very important. Okay, number one is I know that there are a lot of limitations to parents for sure, because most of our parents have been very confident in our educational system. You know, let me just share real quick. In Thailand, the average in the international schools, okay, the average tuition fee here is from 100,000, which in Philippine peso is 150,000. Okay, that's minimum.
That's a lot.
That's minimum. It's from 100,000 to a million, but which is you're looking at 1.5 million pesos. And now that COVID has happened, parents have actually seen how their kids are learning in school. And a lot of parents have been complaining, is this the amount of money we have been paying for? So what I'm trying to say is parents need to make the right choice in trying to look for the right schools that will provide the right education for their children. And there's a lot more there online. Do you know that your kids can be in Elon Musk's school? I've actually been thinking about enrolling my daughter in Astronova because I want to test out the real learning that they're doing as well, because we're trying to follow their educational model as well. So, but what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of schools out there in the online space that our parents could access. You just have, like I showed you our educational model, right? We can offer 5,000 courses in just a click of your fingers in the internet. So you just need to find the right solution, educational solution for your children.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Here's one. I think they will be the last. How online learning affects the normal face-to-face education system. Thanks and God bless. Oh, I don't know if that's a question. That's from Benicio Oafalias.
Um,
How does online learning affect normal face-to-face education system?
um, how
I
does it
think I think you answered it partially, but you can augment.
Definitely face-to-face education will become obsolete. Now it becomes obsolete. Definitely. It will be less more relevant. There will be less students. This is the future, and it's happening now. Why will you limit yourself to getting into face-to-face learning into the classroom when you can have far more better online learning out there? And try to think about the fact that online learning provides a more self-directed, self-paced learning, which you can adjust your time. You can choose your curriculum. There's it's not, this is the thing that most of the parents, most of the educational institutions are being blinded. They don't see the reality of what's going on. We have too much confidence with our educational system, and people have been crying out. Dr. Ken Robinson, one of well respected educators that I have really put so much respect. Before he passed away, I have seen all of his videos that have changed my heart and my perspective in education. This is the education that is the future, and this is what we're facing right now. So my last piece of advice to our parents is, please go out there and check it out, what's happening now in the world, in the online space, because there are how would I say, there are precious um, how do I say, there are a lot of great resources you will find that are really precious for the learning of your children. Do not limit do not limit your education to what you have right now from the status quo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think these are two related questions, but it has something to do with the affordability of online learning.
Exactly. Online learning is much cheaper.
Is it more expensive?
No,
That's from Albert Dichoso.
no, online learning is actually much cheaper. It's much cheaper.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the assurance. Thank you, Coach Al, for that awesome evaluation of last year's balancing act as parents and a sneak peek of a future given the experiences and learnings from the pandemic. And it's not yet done. It's not. We're still continuing. I mean, we are still in the midst of pandemic. So anyway, thank you so much. We learned a lot, and I think the comments are evidence enough. They learned so much, and they are very appreciative of the timely topic that we had, and of course the information that you discussed with all of us. So thank you so much. We are very grateful. For tomorrow same time, you will hear from another expert, Mr. Yulipsin. He will be with us virtually from Malaysia. If today Coach Al is discussing with us from Bangkok, Thailand. Tomorrow, Mr. Lipsin will be coming in from Malaysia virtually. So Mr. Yulipsin is the founder and CEO of SRKK Group, which has branches in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, and is currently the chairman of JB City Plaza Management Corporation. He has a very strong IT background. In fact, the company he owns is an IT solution provider. He is formerly the president of ASI for Southern Asia Pacific region. That's for 2 years, 2017 to 2019. So let's watch this clip for a few teasing details on his discussion tomorrow. He is my CEO. Let's watch this. Again, thank you so much for the wealth of information from Coach Al. Tomorrow, we invite everyone and invite also their friends for another exciting night with Mr. Yulipsin. For a closing reflection, let us listen and give thanks. So kindly open your windows for our traditional picture taking. Mia, countdown.
Okay, ano po yung share? Thank you. Okay, open po lahat ng camera. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Ito Next. 1, 2, 3, smile.
Thank you very much, Alfred.
Yes, Joyce, thank you. Just want to make a shout out to some of my friends from Japan and Thailand who have joined us for this evening. Thank you for your support.
Wow, great.
Wow.
And family in the Philippines who were here in the
Thank you.
Zoom I've seen. So thank you for tuning in.
In behalf of ASI community, we thank you all for coming and learning with us. Thank you again, Coach Al. Please invite all your friends to join again tomorrow, same time. Don't forget, we have certificates and gifts to be given out. So our relationship coordinators may get their addresses, your addresses, so that we can send them after the end of our sessions from June 22 to from May 22 to June 13. Yes, full names and addresses. So in about 2 minutes, we will be closing our Zoom meet for tonight. Take care and stay safe. ASA Global loves you all.
Yeah, great opportunity.